Dodge Swinger, 1973, Galaxy 500, out the way, stars green.
I'm like, I can definitely hear you. So yeah, I've been kind of easing my mind with doing outside stuff. I actually went and rented a boat. First time I ever did that in my life. And it was freaking awesome. They like just pull up this brand new boat. I'm like, really? It's that easy? I can just get in? You don't have to like teach me. I don't have to take boater safety or anything? Okay. It was awesome. I spent the day on the boat, and then it was so much fun. I went back the next day and got another boat, an even better boat, and did it again.
They just let you drive it?
Yeah, they literally just like, he's like, hey, this is how you turn it on. Here's your life jackets. Have fun.
And you took the kids out?
Yeah, and literally for like 7 hours straight, I just tubed around the lake. And because of, all the pandemic stuff, there's not as many people traveling and doing vacations. So I had this huge lake to myself with the kids. And yeah, I had an absolute blast. And then also I wrote a symphony. So that's cool. No, I'm just kidding. I feel like there's all this pressure to create something amazing, Oh yeah, and by the way, I also wrote 3 books, and I financed 2 houses, and I'm like, oh, fuck you.
Are you comparing what people tell you they've actually done with their quarantine time to what you're doing with your quarantine time?
In a way, I always hear these stories about how, I'm probably misspeaking, but I think like Mozart or somebody wrote like his best symphony during, the plague or something. But I did finish a book that I had been kind of like piecemealing for years. And I never thought I'd be able to just like sit down and hack it out, because you just never have the time. But now I do, and I finally finished it. So that's cool. And it's actually a magic thing. So I'm not saying that to like brag. I literally like have been dragging my ass on it for like 10 years. And just like, I needed like a day.
I mean,
but now that I've had...
I don't know. I don't think anyone was expecting you to say my new mystery novel's coming out next week.
Yeah. But it's cool. It's cool that I did actually complete something. So that's kind of fun.
Can you expound a little bit on the book, or are you trying to keep it?
Yeah. No, it's basically it's a book about the performance. Like the actual working title of it is the performance of stand-up comedy magic. So it's specifically just about that thing, like performing magic in a comedic way. There are no specific magic tricks taught or even routines, even though I talk about routines every once in a while as examples to things. But it's really about like the dynamic of, I basically kind of share everything that I learned along the way of having done really shitty shows and kind of like bombed several times. And what happens a lot as a magician is a lot of times in my experience, I would bomb. And when I say bomb, I mean like have a horrible show, eat shit, whatever you want to call it. When I would have a bad show early on as a younger magician, it was mainly because of the conditions. So many times I would show up to do a gig and they'd be like, yeah, we're going to have you do an hour or maybe 2 hours of strolling magic. And then I show up at the gig and there's like 20 people huddled up in a circle waiting for me to perform. And I'm like, well, this isn't really a strolling gig. This is a show. So now they're just they've forced me into a situation where I have to perform a show. And that's okay, because I like to perform a magic show, but it's a little bit more easy to perform a show if you know you're going to be doing it. So right. I can't tell you how many times that's happened where there's just kind of a miscommunication, or they just assume that you're a magician, you can just show up and do magic. It doesn't matter how that's done. But yeah, a lot of times if you're going to do a strolling event, you've just got a few things in your pockets, maybe a deck of cards and some coins, and you're going to repeat like 7 tricks over and over for the same people. But if you show up and they are kind of forcing me to do a show, it's like, well, I've got about 15 minutes. And then after that, it's going to be a little bit tricky. I'm going to be, working for it. But yeah, if I'm prepared for a show, then I've got my case with me and I can do, 2 hours or whatever. So yeah, that was the first like 10 years of my magic journey and performing for real people, was just figuring out how to correctly communicate to the party planner or the host what I need to make it successful for them. Because if they throw me a situation where I'm just kind of like, that's not going to be as good for them, because they're going to be like, well, that guy didn't seem like he was really prepared. He just kind of did like 5 tricks over and over again. you know.
Did you ever, like, was there any particular gig that, like, broke the straw that broke the camel's back where you said, okay, next time I talk to a planner, I'm going to be very specific. Do you need stroll around? Do you need performance? Do you need both?
Yeah, it was just one of those things where I kind of, and also it depends on the number of people, because you can do strolling magic for 30 people, and you could actually do strolling magic for 30 people for several hours, as long as they're just kind of all roaming around and they're not kind of all focused together. If it's like a cocktail type of thing, you know, where everybody's just kind of hanging out, or a hospitality, you know, suite or something like that, where everybody's standing around having a drink and just kind of socializing. You can kind of work that room and just keep going from group to group for a long time. You can kind of just keep, like, you could even go back to another group again and just do, you know, a couple different tricks, which is great. But if you're put in front of the group all at once, you know, that was what it was. I was in a situation where I was at the end of my rope. I had done all the close-up stuff that I knew, you know, and everybody was still gathered around just watching me. And I was kind of like, hey, let's take a quick break, you know, and regroup. And that was kind of like the straw that broke. But I was like, I'm never going to do this again. I'm going to make sure that it's in my contract that if these specific conditions aren't met, that I can't do the show. So I think a lot of that was just kind of when I was younger, and even now, you know, sometimes you don't have a middleman or an agent or a booker or a party planner. Sometimes they're just calling you directly. So you trying to convince the actual person hiring you is a lot different than a professional agent or a party planner that knows the right terms and the right way to kind of soft shoe it to them, that you need to make this happen this specific way, or the show isn't going to be as effective for your party, you know.
Right on. Well, we've never been inundated with so many questions right away.
Cool.
We have three. One, I'm not going to ask Ren, just so you know. Ren wants to know about Wednesday night, and we can ask about that later. But Richard wants to know if you could only perform one trick, what would it be? And kudos on the badass hat. First of all, I have to say also kudos on the badass hat. We're big Karate Kid fans around here, and that was noticed right away. I just watched Karate Kid 3 the other day. Did you? Because I had to clear the room for some reason, and it really worked.
That's hilarious. Aaron always gives me shit because at my wedding, Aaron asked the DJ to play Michael McDonald, and that cleared the room.
Which Michael McDonald did you play?
I think he just said general, hey, can you play some Michael McDonald? And he played like Can't Forget or, you know, What a Fool Believes or something. But I'm a huge fan, and Aaron is too. So we were just like, yeah, let's play some Michael McDonald, and literally cleared the dance floor. Everybody just went, sat down.
See, What a Fool Believes gets me to the dance floor. That's me.
Yeah, it also gets me singing, you know, that falsetto.
Right. It's great. I get stuck on reaction videos on YouTube. I love those reaction videos of people like listening to Michael McDonald for the first time. I forgot. I think you actually had a question, but I got sidetracked by the question was, he said, if you could perform only one trick.
Oh, okay, one trick.
What would it be? And I don't know what he means. If you're like cast away on a desert island and there's a show and you can only do one, what would it be?
Yeah, I think it's hard because I would choose between one or two things. It would either be just a simple, you know, changing a coin in someone's hand, because that's super or there's like 5 tricks that you can do in someone's hand. You can like make a sponge ball, you know, turn into, you know, from 1 to 5. You can make a card, you know, change in their hand. You can make a coin go from 3 to 4. You know, there's only so many things you can do, and all those things are just so strong for somebody. But if it's a situation where I'm kind of performing for 500 people, then the answer would be definitely different. So it would probably be just like my ring to lemon trick, which is basically just bill to lemon, but I do it with somebody's borrowed ring as opposed to borrowing a dollar bill and then making it appear in the lemon. And then I know that's a very cliche thing, but it's just after performing thousands of shows and having heard spectators talk, that's like just one of the tricks they talk about the most. It's like no matter how impossible it is, they still go back to how the heck did he get that thing inside the lemon? It just really screws with people's head. If you can put something inside a piece of fruit, it's just one of those things. It's like so strong. So yeah, I have a really funny routine where I borrow somebody's ring and I apparently destroy it, and then it ends up inside of a bag that they've been holding on to the entire time. So it's kind of like, wow, how could it be inside this bag? Because you gave it to me before I even handed you the bag. So, but yeah, it's literally just it's nothing new or super creative. You know, it's just a classic, like I said, built to lemon handling. But I do it with a ring. But yeah, it's just classics are classics for a reason, I guess.
You're talking about doing things in people's hands. Now, I don't know.
Yeah.
When was the last time you had like a performance, like a
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. You can't really do that right now unless it's somebody that you literally just tested.
Right.
Here, hold still, look up, and let me swab your nose, and then we can finish this trick.
Yeah.
So yeah, I haven't. Other than just close family members, that's the only people I've come in contact with. So yeah,
Are they still into seeing magic right now from you?
No, my family never wants to see magic again.
That's a question I had because I know you have smaller children or children that are still.
I shouldn't say that. My kids actually love magic, but and I shouldn't say that about my family either. They're actually fine with it. They love it now. But there was a phase of a few years where they didn't want to ever pick another card again, because they were subjected to so much of it. They just were just like, no, I don't want to.
Well, I think the first time I met you, you're one of the few people that I met while I was still living at my mother's house in Upper Marlboro, Maryland.
Yeah.
And at that time, I was not having any kind of magic.
Well, in my defense, I don't think I offered. So.
Right. No. I think Aaron warned you probably. Like, no, do it.
I'm pretty sensitive to that, especially with like people that are like siblings of magicians, because I know my siblings are just like, no, I don't want to see anymore. And then of course there's like that, you go off and you don't see them as much. And then maybe you do in my case, I did like a TV gig and they're like, oh, well, that's kind of cool. Now it's kind of cool. They saw me do a TV thing, Then they'll share that with their friends, but they still don't want to pick a card.
I'm having a blast recently watching people from the community do magic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Still not Aaron though, unfortunately.
That's awesome.
but I'm the only one. But getting back to the kids thing, like I have a child in the house and he's 8 years old and he's home all the time now. And some of his mystery is gone because I ship a lot of things out for Aaron and
right.
He sees stuff. Do your kids have a bit of a wonderment subtraction because of it?
Yeah, a little bit. They definitely know a little bit too much, and they also are surrounded by thousands of books and gimmicks and things everywhere in my house. So a lot of it they probably don't know what it is, but they know it's some type of weird device. But my daughter is kind of like, she'll just sit back and watch it, and she likes to kind of suspend her disbelief. But my son's like the asshole heckler.
Right.
that wants to grab and touch and mess everything up, which is great, because I think that's a good spirit to have in life, to not believe anything, but also it's good because it keeps you on your toes, because I can if I can fool him, then I know it's good. Or if I can figure out a way to keep his mind or his hands busy and not touch the wrong thing at the wrong time, then I know it's good. But he still loves magic, and he even does a couple of things. They went through a little phase where they were like learning tricks and things like that. My son's 12 and my daughter's 13, so they're getting a little bit older. They're starting to go into the junior high phase of life, so that's a little bit of a different vibe.
Especially this year, right?
Yeah, it's so weird, man. I feel bad. I feel so bad. Especially if they have to go back with masks and stuff. I don't know about that. I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, well, let's leave that there.
Save that for another time.
For professionals.
Yeah, right.
Some people have asked some questions. Noel Unfried, hey, Noel.
Hey, what's up, Noel?
He wants.
I just sent Noel a package.
You just been sent a package. I hope of coins.
Let's both say it's a mystery package.
What are the best tricks you would do for a paid Zoom audience? It plays over the internet.
Anything that's super interactive, like asking, obviously you can't have them hold things. You can't have them, hey, seal this envelope, or hey, put this in your pocket, or hey, mix these up. There's just so many things that are integral to making strong magic that are process oriented, and specifically process that includes their physical involvement. So if I can't have them physically involved, I need to have them verbally involved as much as possible. So it might just be as simple as saying, hey, I want you guys to all 12 of you, or whoever's watching, I want you to take, 10 seconds, and I want you to all pick your favorite type of appetizer, and I don't know, maybe you're doing a mentalism trick or something like that. But I'm going to just try to get them involved as much as possible, having them name things, having them pick numbers, having them pick words, having them think of important dates in their life. Because I do about 50-50 like mentalism and magic if I'm doing a public show. And it's not really perceived as either. They're just cool, impossible things. They all kind of blend together. It's not like, all right, now it's time for the mentalism part of the show. They're just kind of, I just kind of go back and forth between them. So yeah, that would be what I would do. I would do something where maybe I have them all stand in a row, and then I have a prediction that I've mailed to them, and then I have them open the prediction, and it shows that I predicted exactly how they would stand. Something like that, where they have to kind of physically move around and they're really being involved, because so much magic is just, hey, look what I could do. Look at this cool thing I did. And that's awesome. If you're watching really visual shit, like somebody's cutting off their arm or somebody's floating, that's really, really visual stuff. But I'm guessing 90% of us probably aren't going to float during a Zoom, performance, just because we don't have maybe that apparatus, or, we're doing more stand-up and close-up type of magic things. So yeah, we just have to try to figure out how to involve them as much as possible and do visual stuff. But you can only watch visual stuff for so long until you kind of lose them, because you're not having them interact at all. So it could be just as simple as saying, hey, the person right there in the purple shirt, what's your name? Simple things like that, just getting them involved, as opposed to just saying, hey, here's my next trick, watch this. Because there's no interaction, and it's hard to care about something if you're not involved in it,
Right on. I hope that answers the question. I don't know if it did. I'm a magic adjacent layperson. I don't really know.
I kind of rambled, but I hope that helped.
No, it helps. Sean Redmond asked me a question that I'm supposed to kind of sidestep some of the words in it, so I'm going to. He says, do you think I'll give you a hint. You know what he is, right?
Yeah.
That's Opus the... Okay. Do you think that live performance is as memorable or as good as the legendary LNL performance?
That's a good question. I don't really know. I haven't really thought about that. But honestly, I haven't watched a lot of the most recent lectures that have been coming out, just because I've been, doing other things and busy with life. But I want to say I think they're both great. I think, honestly, the old L&L ones were great because I don't know if you've seen any of them, Ethan, but they've kind of become iconic for two reasons. First of all, there's usually like a couple of like tipsy girls that will be like almost over the top tipsy in them, Right. And also there's this black gentleman who's hilarious, and I say black only to be descriptive. He's just so funny because every time he responds to a trick, he freaks out like he just saw Jesus. It's the most amazing thing to him. So watching him react to some of the stuff is almost more fun than watching the magicians perform.
Yeah, Sean said the audience makes a difference.
Yeah, the audience definitely makes a difference. But I've also seen, in the Bird performances, they have great audiences, and even sometimes bigger and more energetic audiences, because a lot of the L&L audiences would be just a small group of people that are kind of drunk in Mike Maxwell's living room, as opposed to this, which is an actual studio, and they're getting, all walks of life, a lot of college kids, older people, and things like that. So I think there's really a lot to be learned from both of them. And I always feel like especially when it comes to a performance standpoint, the bigger the audience, the more you can learn from that type of a performance. But yeah, I think performing for no audience with just kind of like a dead vibe is really hard. It's hard for the performer as well.
Wednesday was you didn't have anyone in the room with you, but I think it went pretty well.
Yeah, no, I have a lot of love for that type of situation, because when I'm doing that, I've done quite a few Zoom lectures and Zoom performances, and I've done a couple of them where there's like a host or a moderator. But Wednesday, it's like there's 6 moderators, and they're all my best friends.
Right.
So it's super helpful, because as soon as I'm done doing something, they all start, saying things and giving me positive feedback, or even if it was negative, it's better than none. You know what I mean? Just to say, oh, well, what about this? But yeah, just as soon as I can get feedback, and even just people doing ones, that's I can't stress enough how helpful that is, especially if this is a new norm, quote unquote. I think that's one of the most important things, is to be mindful that whoever's on the other end performing or talking sometimes feels like it's just kind of like this dead ceremony with nothing coming back. So it's so important to give back and let them know by typing or putting ones or whatever. That's really important.
That leads me to another question. I'm not dissing on the questions, everybody. I just have a couple of things I wanted to ask Nate. We're gonna get back to these questions. I'm getting them all down. But since you're talking about CC and doing them that night, it's always a point of interest for me how, in fact, riffraff such as yourself fell in riffraff such as my brother, and how you guys met and all that kind of
well, I actually...
If it's appropriate.
Oh, no, it's totally appropriate. Yeah, I was just thinking about, because we just talked about that a little bit. During the lecture, we were talking about how I met Adam, because I met Aaron first and then met Adam right after that. I knew of Aaron before I met him, because he had, published a few things here and there, and there was kind of like this, whispers and rumors of this this young cardman who could do an amazing half pass that nobody could see. And I was like, that's bullshit. That sounds like some bullshit to me. Right. And so yeah, I was kind of like somewhat a fan of him before I met him, because I liked some of the stuff that I read. And then I met Lee Asher and Aaron Fisher, as well as several other magicians, all kind of in the same moment at a convention. I lived in Dallas, Texas for a few years, and they were having the big International Society of Magicians convention, and that's kind of a big deal, and it kind of just hops around every year. It's in a different city, and this year it happened to be in New Orleans, which is a pretty awesome place. And so I was like, hey, that's not that far. I can drive there. So I just drove from Texas to New Orleans, and it was amazing. It was also the first big magic convention I had ever been to. So it was kind of just completely blown away. So many people, thousands of magicians, thousands of people. I had been kind of talking back and forth with Lee about, I really want to meet you and Aaron. So we had set up, hey, let's meet at this convention. And it was like we had known each other forever. We met and we instantly hit it off. We're all the same age. We all kind of grew up in magic, liking the same magicians. We were all close-up guys. And so we immediately just started to like hang out that entire weekend. We ate tons of Cajun food and caused lots of trouble. It was awesome.
Right on. Hey, I want to pause for a second and let everyone know. If you were with us last week, we did a contest at the end. I'm doing another one today, so hang out for that. Another giveaway. Okay.
Give it away now. You need to have that little sound effect when you do this giveaway every time. I think that would be great.
Well, once I get the studio set up,
once you get the board.
My microphone broke today, so I'll tell you where I am at.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So you like the Red Hot Chili Peppers at all?
I do. I love them. They're one of my favorite bands, actually. And I was just talking to my girlfriend about that because we were talking about Jean Frusciante, and I was explaining to her.
He's back, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I was explaining to her the whole story because she didn't know anything about it. I was like, yeah, they've had all these different guitarists, but he was kind of like the badass original one. And yeah, it's amazing that they're writing, and I'm super excited for whatever is going to come out of that.
Yeah. Hopefully it'll be, because he's there, and they're really good, and
and then he leaves.
Dave Navarro, not so great.
Right. I'm the same way. I feel the same way.
Was it 1 Hot Minute or something?
Yeah. Although the last guy I really liked a lot, that was Frusciante's student, basically.
Right. And, do you fire him, or do you just like, come on, man, he's coming back?
Well, there was a whole, I don't know if you saw, did you see that whole article? Yeah, I was like, oh, man.
Yeah. So it's like, okay.
But they really are just so much fun live. I've just been seeing them since like 90, so it's crazy to think that I've been seeing them for like 30 years.
You know who I've been seeing a long time, and I see it always strikes me, is every time you wear a Clutch hat, I get all excited.
Oh, yeah. I love Clutch. They're probably the band that I've seen the most out of any other band. I just
Really?
always, if they come anywhere near me, I just go, yeah.
I think now I've been seeing them for almost 20 years.
Yeah, that's me too. I think I went maybe like 94 or 90, right around 94, 93.
And they've changed a lot too.
Yeah, that first album is completely different if you listen to that first album. Yeah.
Yeah, like Space Grass and stuff like that is completely different from Beale Street or what is it, Earth Rocker? Is that it?
Yeah, they've got, and then like it's funny because when I first was turned on to them, I was turned on to them through, I think it was Shogun Named Marcus, one of those really heavy songs on the very first album.
Right.
And I was just like, whoa, this is crazy, because he's just screaming, come on, motherfucker,
Right.
It's like, it just goes on forever. I'm like, this is pretty fun. And so I got that album, and then right as like a few weeks later, they dropped Elephant Riders.
And
I was like, this doesn't sound anything like that, man, but I love this. And so I was just kind of like blown away. I'm like, I gotta get all their albums now and just figure out what's going on with these guys. And yeah, it's been really fun to watch them kind of change and go through this like kind of funk rock phase. And they just really, they're all characters too. Each one of the guys is really interesting. And I've hung out with them.
Oh yeah, that Neil, he's charismatic as hell, dude.
Super charismatic and super like knowledgeable about music history and stuff, which is really cool.
And I don't see interviews with them, but there is an interview on YouTube with like a 9-year-old girl that does like music interviews with him.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, he turned me on to a really cool recording. It's something that you can get on Amazon. It's just a download, but it's like the first recorded music in history. So it's just like a mixture of like, some of it's just like, hillbillies playing on guitar. Some of it's just like little girls singing, but all of it's just amazing. And it's just a really, really cool bit of history.
And one way we have more time, I'll tell you about how they swore me off of ever going to a show in Baltimore ever again. That's not true, but I had a really bad time at the last Clutch show I went to.
Oh, that sucks. Was it Clutch's fault or just the venue's fault?
If Clutch is the one that decides that they're going to go on third, the very last, and they have like 2 bands before it, it's their fault. So,
Gotcha. Were they like supporting bands, or was it like 3 really popular bands?
I couldn't even tell you. I just know that there were like literally like bodies dropping everywhere from too much alcohol, and it was.
Oh wow, yeah.
It was a bad deal. Anyway, this isn't magic. No one cares about this. Let me go.
Although I did do magic for the drummer, so that was cool.
Oh yeah, I know that Aaron has worked some. I'm not allowed to name drop, but
I gotcha.
A band that may or may not have played the song "Where Is My Mind."
Oh, nice. Yeah, I actually
might have had some lessons from Aaron.
I'm good friends with that guy, and last time they came through, I went backstage and hung out with him. He's super cool. Yeah.
Just brilliant stuff.
It's crazy because when I was like 14, I would have never thought in my entire life I would be hanging out with the drummer of that band. You know what I mean? And not only am I hanging out with him, but like he wants to hang out with me.
Right. And oh, and I know we were talking before, real quick. We'll take a 5-minute music sojourn here. But we'll come back to the magic. I know that's the glue that binds us. You know, I know.
Yeah, Rob Zabrecki, he's another great, former musician who's a great magician. But he's another guy who I met, and I was just like, wow. I'm like, this is so cool. You're like, I know you from a lead singer of one of the popular bands from my childhood, but you're asking me you're asking me questions about things that I do, which is so weird.
Did you say that to him?
Yeah, I'm like, this is blowing my mind. I'm like,
Right.
I want to ask you questions, and you're asking me questions. So I never felt like I would have anything to offer you.
Right. But you were talking about you got your Faith No More ticket back refunded for
Yeah.
show.
Yeah, that's a big majority of my income now is getting, tickets back.
The refunds right on. I saw The Who many times. I've seen The Who 30 times about. They're
That's
my favorite
awesome.
band. My son's middle name is Townsend. That's how big a fan I am.
Well, I'm hoping they come back to Ohio. I hear they might. So.
Well, that's their big show. They need to come.
Yeah. So if that happens, I'm definitely going to go see them. I saw them at the Palace, which recently just got imploded, literally a few days ago, here in Detroit. And that's the only time I've seen them once, but it was awesome. It was amazing.
Last summer, I took my son with Uncle Aaron.
I saw the photos. It was great.
And then me and Aaron went the next week to see him in Philly.
That's awesome.
It was amazing. But in 2006, when they toured, their opening act, label mate, was Peeping Tom.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and the Who audience was not into them. It was not pretty, but it was
man.
It's Mike Patton, it's CeeLo Green, to empty house, and Mike Patton is just giving the finger as he walks off stage. The crowd was so unwelcoming. It was very uncool.
Oh man, that's got to be such a tough situation. Either that, or you love it and you're like, yeah,
right. All right,
which might be what Mike likes.
So let me get into some more of the questions that the folks have, and they're very specific questions. Carlos Sawyer says, I want to let Nate know that I bought his Easy Card Magic, and in particular, the Easy Canista was a hit.
Thanks, man.
I have them dance in sync with me while having them shuffle the deck. The reveal of the 3 matching cards foiled the seasoned pro magicians that were in the crowd. Thank you so much for that effect.
That's awesome. Here's a little tip, man. You can do it. I've been doing it a little bit differently. You can make it even stronger by having both decks set up. There's a small setup with one of the boxes. If you set up both boxes like that identically, then you can do the whole thing without having to put any preset cards in your pocket. And that'll make sense if you know the trick. So thanks for the compliment.
Okay. So next on the list, we have Jeff Wobble Madsen. What is your process for creating a routine? Do you have an end already in mind and work backwards, or do you just work with something and see where it takes you creatively? And also within that question could be, do you script for the laughs or for the effect? I think
I honestly don't do a ton of actual, I shouldn't say I don't do scripting. I definitely have a script, but I don't do a lot of it ahead of time. I just kind of have a basic premise in my head. And then most of the writing I like to do is kind of write as I go or write as I perform, because I've found that I can oftentimes be pretty quick and snappy when I'm performing, more so than when I'm just sitting at home in front of a piece of paper. So I just kind of write as I go. But yeah, the answer to that question, it would be yes to all those things. I don't have a particular process. Sometimes I'm just playing around with a move. Sometimes I actually have a routine that I'm trying to figure out. Sometimes I do have an end in mind. Sometimes I just have a premise, like I want to put this apple inside this bottle, and then I have to just figure out how to do that and how to make it interesting. But more times than not, the way I put together a routine or an idea is just from playing with something, either an old idea in a book that I read that makes me go, oh, that's cool, and makes me run and go grab a deck of cards. Or I read something and I go, oh, I love this trick, but I hate this part of it. I hate that you have to do this part, or I hate this move. And then it's like a challenge to figure out, how can I change this, make it still just as good, but get rid of this move that I don't like, or this awkward moment that I think is a little bit, not a strong part of the routine. So yeah, I guess the answer is yes to all those things.
Okay, cool. Great. All right, so I have a new segment here that I'm trying out. Everyone, I did it last week with Barcelona. I'm going to do it with Nathan here real quick, and it's I'm basically stealing the old Inside the Actor Studio thing, except I'm doing it with magic. I'm going to ask you 10 questions. It'll be pretty rapid fire.
Word.
Word. You're the only other person I know that uses Word as an affirmative, so I like that too. I do that all the time.
I know. I'll actually say that in text sometimes to people, and they're like, "Huh?"
I think they get it around here. I think they just think I'm weird.
Right on.
Yeah. And I'm like, no, that's 90s for positive. I'm saying yes to you. I'm saying affirmative. You know.
It's like saying bet.
Bet. Yeah. Totally. What church? Totes. You know, those kind of things. What's your favorite magic word?
Magic word? Like hocus pocus, you mean? Or?
Yeah, sure. At Conjuror Community, we're using wobble a lot.
Oh, I never thought about that. I don't really
It's catching on. Wobble. Hashtag wobble.
Yeah. I always there was this really funny magic cartoon that was a black and white like Betty Boop type cartoon where this guy, the magician, came in and he would go abadabba, abadabba, which I thought was funny because he didn't get the kadab in there. He'd just go abadabba. So that's always been my favorite. Abadabba.
Are you sure you weren't watching the Flintstones?
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Yabba-dabba-doo.
What's your least favorite magic word?
Don't
say wobble.
I would say alakazam because it sounds like you're calling somebody a bad name.
Okay. Okay. What turns you on in a magical sense?
Like a fresh idea. And when I say fresh, not necessarily a new plot or a new trick, but just like a new way to look at something. Like maybe instead of palming a card, somebody uses a reel to pull the card in their pocket or something like that. That makes me excited because it's like, oh, you accomplished something that people have been doing 100 years a certain way, and you figured out a different way to do it. So I think that's really cool. Like innovation, I guess, would be the thing that gets me hard.
And on the opposite spectrum, what makes you go, eh?
A lot of stuff, but I think the thing that makes me get grossed out by magic the most is just when it's super obvious that the person is just engaged in their own magic trick and not even like doing it for anybody else. It's just like they're kind of like they don't even look up sometimes. It's like they've spent whatever, 17 hours practicing this routine or this move, and they got to show it to somebody. They just got to show it to somebody because they got to get that happiness for their ego. So it doesn't have anything to do with like trying to share or give a great moment to somebody or cheer somebody up. It's just about their ego. So that's one of the things that turns me off the most, I think, is you can I can see that coming a mile away with a performance. If somebody's not really engaged or doesn't like ask questions or seem to like enjoy the audience members and they're just kind of like focused on what they're doing. That's my biggest pet peeve.
Right on. Do you have a favorite magical curse word?
Yeah, I always love the term bitch slapped by wonder.
Okay. That's funny.
I was reading a Steve Mayhew book and he said that. He said that he was bitch slapped by wonder. I thought that was good.
If you weren't a magician, what would you be doing?
I would probably be homeless because my second answer would be a musician. So I would probably be homeless. Okay. Wow. Yeah, my other big love is playing the drums. So I would definitely love to, I've been in, several shitty bands that played, bar gigs, but never anything that actually made enough money to really speak of. But yeah, that was my big passion before I kind of got into magic, was playing the drums. So I still secretly would love to be the drummer in a rock band, as most of us would, I think.
With Adam, me, you, Alec, Jason, Dean, we're gonna get the CC band going one day.
Yeah, we can figure it out.
Yeah, we'll do it. Sure. I cut some off. Let's do the last one. If your sanctum sanctorum exists, what would you like to hear Vernon say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Oh man, there's so many things. Jeez, there's so many inappropriate things I want to say. Because that was Vernon. He was super, like, he would always say, like, super inappropriate things. Yeah, I guess I would expect him to say, "Where are the bitches?" You know. and if you're an actual bitch listening to this, I mean this in the most loving way. Yeah.
Okay, so another fun thing we can do, because we're gonna have you gonna do a trick, but I do another thing. I'm gonna try to do this where I looked at some of your Instagram pictures and I would like some explanations. I called it "Explain Yourself." Steve Barcelona said that was a bit too abrasive, so it's called "Answer for Yourself." And I haven't shared a screen yet here, but I'm gonna try now. And so forgive me while I do this technical thing. And some of these aren't you, and most of them are magical. And there was many I wanted to ask you about that weren't magical, but I left those out.
Yeah. Let's see how deep you've gone. Hey, look at that! It worked.
Okay.
Oh, that's great. Speaking of the crotchety old man himself, there he is. There's Vernon.
I mean, what do you know what this picture is really about?
So I don't have the exact context, but I remember when this was posted. It was posted by a friend of mine, and I stole it just because I thought it was so funny. But it's at I can't remember if it's Vernon's birthday or if it's I'm pretty sure it's at a birthday party. I'm pretty sure it's actually Vernon's birthday, and that's John Cornelius offering offering him to pick a card, and he's just sitting there sleeping. And I guess that was something that he was, very famous for doing. As he got older in years, he would just kind of take naps anywhere at any time. And I just think that's hilarious.
Okay. Since I know what it looks like, I'm going to go back to sharing screen. Thanks for bearing with me, everybody.
That was cool. Yeah, I was actually just on my way to do a gig, and the gig was kind of in the middle of nowhere. And I was driving along, and then I saw this kind of in a wooded area. I thought, is that a piano? And so I literally stopped, did a U-turn, and went back and got on my car and took a picture of it. It was just kind of by itself in this wooded area. This piano decorated with garland and fur. It was really interesting. It didn't look like it was actually playable. It was just kind of like a decoration in the woods. And I thought, wow, how interesting and weird.
Just random there in the street and in the woods?
Yeah. It was in like a nowhere, one blinking light town, in cornfields. I was just driving through.
Nice. All right. I totally forgot what these are now. So this one looks cool.
Yeah, this was after. Man, I'm gonna probably misspeak here on the actual city, but I want to say it was in Shenzhen, China, and this was I can see a couple of my friends there with me, kneeling before me in the red shirt is my good friend Lidden, and then I can recognize a couple of the other guys too. I can see on the far right that guy sitting on the red couch there. His name is actually Bruce Lee. No joke. Yeah, those guys were great, man. That was I did a TV show in China, and because of the popularity of the TV show, I was able to go back and do a tour, and I toured all over the country and went to tons of different cities, and this was one of the places I lectured.
Nice.
Yeah.
So it was a lecture, but not I guess a class is a lecture. Okay.
Yeah, it was just like a close-up workshop for all the local Chinese magicians in that city.
Right on. All right, here we go. I forgot. Oh yeah, this is the one.
Oh yeah. That's a great picture. I was loving the reflection in the water because it had rained earlier that day, so there was this big water puddle. And I just thought that was such a cool photo. But that is actually at Electric Forest a couple of years ago. That was my first year. I've been to it a couple times. It's just a really cool 3-day music festival that happens in a huge forested area in Michigan here. And it's kind of cool because it's like this mashup of EDM and jam bands. So there's a little bit of everything.
Nice. I want to go there. This one's close to me.
Oh yeah, man. I love this picture. Yeah, Denny. Can't beat a better smile than that guy. He always looked so awesome. But yeah, I have another picture where it's actually Aaron and me and Denny, and he looks even more funnier and goofier. That's one of my favorite pictures too. But yeah, this wasn't too long ago, actually, just a couple of years ago. I'm wearing my Baroness shirt. I know I can date the picture by my metal shirt.
Right.
But yeah, that was. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say there's definitely a picture I wanted to ask you about. I'll ask you about offline. It's the I guess the Alex Ross art one, or
one of the best, greatest guys of all time. He could answer any question. If I ever had a question, he could answer it. If I was looking for something, he knew where it was. He was just awesome.
And one more. Ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Oh, wait, no
hey.
one, no one cares about that. Anyway.
That was 3 guys, 1 cup. That's what that was.
Oh, okay. There's been a lot of those jokes lately here. There was one on the member mastermind before you came on.
By the way, I'm super influenced now. I'm going to go I'm actually going to watch some Florence and the Machine on YouTube after this.
Please do. I'm doing a show on her pretty soon, and
So what does that mean?
I'm launching a YouTube channel that I don't know how up to date it's going to be, but the first one, I have a friend I've met over the internet. She does like podcasts, and one of the things we related on is Florence. I'm a big Florence fan.
That's awesome. So it's just going to be kind of like you talking about different bands?
Yeah, the first couple are going to be like, you know how everyone's going, give me your top 5 favorite bands.
Yeah.
Like your favorite albums, because you're here. Like one of them is How Big, How Blue, How Beautiful. And I'm going to talk about that with her. And then I'm going to do Quadrophenia, and I'm probably going to do Animals.
Cool.
Yeah. And so Train Spotting soundtrack. So that's coming up for me in the future.
Oh man, I need to watch that again. That's such a great movie. I haven't watched that in a few years.
Yeah, Train Spotting is real good. What else do I have left to do? I think I want to save your little thing for the very end, so I'm going to do the contest now.
Cool.
Everybody still hanging out for the contest? Anyone still here? If you're still here and you want me to do the contest, you throw me a 1. And I can show you what it is for today. I've lost my spot for everything.
You know who I just got back into recently?
Who?
The Bengals. They're so good, man.
As in Manning Monday?
Yeah. I know it's like probably not what you'd expect me to say, but I just I'm drawing a blank on the Susanna
Hoffs.
Yeah. Oh, I just love her so much. I found her Instagram, and I just started following her, and it reignited my love for all their songs. And and once again, I'm drawing a blank on her name, but the bassist, she did the Mark Maron podcast, and that also got me really excited. It was a really cool podcast. Do
you like Matthew Sweet at all?
Heard
of him?
Why do I? Who's Matthew Sweet?
He's a '90s, Gin Blossomy type guitar player.
Oh, okay. Because I was like, I do know that name, but I just can't think of any song.
Him and Susanna Hoffs have done a series of cover albums.
Oh, okay. I know him then. Yeah. I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, and
for sure.
Great.
Cool.
I love her Purple Rickenbacker vibe, man. It's great.
Yeah, there's a video that she just posted a few. That's been a couple weeks now, but it was of her doing like a acoustic version of Eternal Flame, and it just is so good, man. She's so hot.
Is that the one written by Prince?
Yeah.
And Hazy Shade of Winter, their Simon and Garfunkel cover is killer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. That's good. I'll have to go look at that.
Hey, anyone, let me know if you've heard of Blue Ribbon playing cards. These were given to me by someone that has the same mother as me, who does magic. I'm giving a deck of these away today, also along with the greatest sticker ever invented, Conjuror Community.
Yeah.
Steal your CC.
I was representing.
To the email address I just put in there, do not put your answer in the chat. Do not put your answer in the chat. Do not put your answer in the chat. If you put your answer in the chat, you're not going to win. send it to that email address, ccamacontest@gmail.com. I'm going to ask a question for the right, and I'm going to do a drawing. I'll probably do it around 3 o'clock today, so, we want mostly people that are here live. Ribbon, CC sticker. Here's the question. Question's usually culled from my childhood. Something I can answer. Last week, by the way, the answer was widespread, fill in the blank. The answer was panic. Okay. The clue was an effect invented by Aaron Fisher. That is not this week's. Okay. Here is this question, then we got one more thing from Nathan. In the 1985 PBS special Penn and Teller Go Public, the famous magic duo opened with an upside-down straitjacket escape routine. What poem does Penn recite in the routine?
Oh, that's a good question.
So I'm going to repeat that again. In the 1985 PBS special Penn and Teller Go Public, the famous magic duo opened with an upside-down straitjacket escape routine. What poem does Penn recite in the routine? Was trying to get a little bit more intricate with my question this week. Again, please answer at ccamacontest@gmail.com. And I don't think I need to say it again. I think I said it twice. I assume, maybe I'll check that. But right now, we've had a special request for something by Nathan. I'm going to turn it over to him. I'll say goodbye again, buddy.
Cool. I just happen to have a deck of cards here. So let's try a little experiment. Let me give you guys maybe a little bit of a better angle here. There we go. Cool. So I'll just go through the deck here, and usually I would have somebody pick a card, but there's nobody here. So Ethan, as I go through, just say stop.
Stop. Perfect. I'll unmute. Stop. Okay.
Perfect. We'll show it to the audience. I won't even look at the monitor, I promise. So the idea is every card in the deck actually does a different trick. Some of them can magically rise to the top. Some of them can flip over. Some of them can change color. Some of them can jump to your pocket. You guys know there's all these different tricks that cards can do, but I want to see what trick Ethan's card can do. So let me pull out a few possibilities here. It could be this one, could be this one, or it could be this one. We have 3 options here. And let's see here. 3 possibilities. Was it a club?
Yes.
I think it was a club. Let me move these cards out of the way so you guys can see. I've got 3 possibilities here. I think your card is the one card. Oops, move this over so you guys can see. I think your card is the one card that can actually stand up on its own.
Wow.
Ooh. No threads, no strings. You can see nothing holding it up. It's just kind of standing there. Okay. And the moment of truth. What was the name of the card?
Ace of Clubs.
The Ace of Clubs. Yay!
Nice.
And nobody got hurt. Everybody's happy.
And that was for Richie. Richie requested that.
Hope you like that, Richie.
I hope he wasn't expecting the explanation, because I don't do that on this show.
If you do want to find the explanation, I'm pretty sure I taught that in my CC lecture. But if not, you can just Google. It's called tip tray.
Right on. Hey man, thanks so much for coming and doing this.
Oh, thank you, man. It was fun to. It was good to see you, and it's fun to talk magic and music. I love. Maybe we'll do a Zoom for your YouTube music podcast sometime.
Yeah. What's your favorite albums of all time?
Oh man, that's really tough. That's so tough.
Because it's got to be one of mine, or I can't do it. That's my biggest thing with this, is it has to be something I absolutely love. I'm not going to talk about stuff I don't.
I would definitely agree that Quadrophilia is one of them.
Yeah, Quadrophilia.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's my favorite album of all time. Everybody, CC, thanks again.
Thanks, Ethan.
I appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, everybody, for watching.
All right,
I'll see
everybody.
you guys.
Whenever it feels